Starting this Monday, First Take's Draft Blitz kicks off as we dissect and debate key teams leading up to this year's NFL Draft in Las Vegas. Monday, First Take will spotlight Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Now, Josh Allen will be with his partner in crime for years to come as the Buffalo Bills have reached agreement with wide receiver Stephon Diggs on a 4-year, $104 million extension that includes $70 million guaranteed, sources have told our very own Adam Schefter. So, with more on that, we are going to welcome in NFL analyst Sam Acho to the squad. Now, Sam, you've got your Masters green jacket on, so we respect it, appreciate it. And Sam, I'm going to start with you. Is Josh Allen the QB under the most pressure next season?
No, he's not. I don't think he's the number one QB under the most pressure. I think that title would go to Tom Brady, and here's why. I believe that pressure in a lot of ways is a function of time, right? How much time do you have left with the opportunities that are afforded to you? Tom Brady's 44 years old, and he retired last year as the league leader in passing yards. This dude retired on top. It doesn't happen. Drew Brees retired, didn't look great in his last year. We saw Peyton Manning retire, didn't look great in his last little spat of his seasons. But Tom Brady retired on top. And then 40 days later, he came back. And if anybody knows Tom Brady, the dude with 7 championships, Tom Brady didn't come back to be average. He didn't come back to lose. He's coming back to win. And so for me, the person who's under the most pressure in a lot of ways is TB12 because of the expectations, number one, but more importantly, the function of time. He does not have as much time left as some of these other younger QBs.
The thing with that, though, for me, Sam, I agree with you. There's going to be pressure on Tom Brady, but it's on himself. He's got to feel like he's going out on top, which he would have done if he left and stayed gone. It's not from the outside because he already has so many rings and has already brought a chip to Tampa Bay. And obviously, we know what he did in New England. For me, this has got to be about Aaron Rodgers, and it's not even close. And look, the Packers have one Super Bowl ring. That's all great. And then they moved on from their head coach, and we have yet to see Green Bay come up since then. And they've had to make moves because of what Aaron Rodgers has done during the offseason. They had to get rid of Devontae Adams because that is what he wanted, and it feels like a lot of that decision was because it was predicated on what Rodgers did. Look, this is a fan base that I know really well. My family lives in Wisconsin. I go there very often. They're big Packers fans. This is a fan base that's extremely frustrated with their quarterback and the drama that they've had to ride over the last 2 seasons. If this guy doesn't come back and they don't go take a wide receiver in the draft that can immediately make an impact on this team and have them put up points, it's a complete failure in Green Bay, if you ask me. If you look at Aaron Rodgers' record in the postseason, he's 11-10. Okay, great. 4 of those losses have been in overtime, and 3 of those losses have come without one offensive touchdown. That's a problem. And so Aaron Rodgers needs to figure out not only how to win a Super Bowl there in Green Bay this year, but also right the ship for all the drama that's gone on, and also make Lambeau Field now be a place where they win in the postseason, something they haven't done the last few years.
She's trying to act like she's the only one that goes to Wisconsin to see her father on that side of the family. I go too. Shout out Ripon, Wisconsin. Them cheese curds are serious. But let's go back to who really has the most pressure on them. Who's America's team? Who's the quarterback of America's team? Those Dallas Cowboys. Who does Stephen A. love to pile up on every Monday morning after they have a letdown? It's the Dallas Cowboys. So Dak Prescott is most clearly the guy with the most pressure on him. $160 million contract. Every year we have the same question. Is this guy one of the best? Should he be paid that type of money? Pressure, it's all over Dallas. Amari Cooper leaves. Now it's CD Lamb is the number 1. Pressure there. Mike McCarthy steps in, some issues managing a clock, some other managerial decisions, coaching decisions off to the side there. A group that goes 12-5 and is usurped in the first round by an upstart San Fran squad that goes on a run and almost to a Super Bowl. Look, Dak Prescott has been there for a lot of years now at this point. What Dak Prescott has not been able to do is find consistency. You can even question health now, coming off what happened 2 seasons ago. But how about the playoffs? My man's 1-3 in the playoffs. The quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, one of the most storied franchises in all of, not football, sport. So Dak Prescott better deliver this year because, yes, good season last year. Yes, good statistics last year, but it didn't end up being anything in the postseason but a bounce job in a wild card game. This group better figure it out, these Dallas Cowboys.
Go ahead, Tim.
Well, Jordan, whose fault was that? You just said it was Mike McCarthy's fault. You just said it was the coach's fault. Dak Prescott had the number 1 offense in the NFL, number one. So that's great for him.
How did he do in that postseason game? How did he do in that
defense, hold on, real quick. Because it wasn't his fault they lost. Ask anybody, they're not saying, oh, Dak Prescott is the reason we lost. A lot of people are saying it's coaching error, right? Coaching, in math, people say statistical error. Coaching error, number one. Number two, the defense, right? This is to the point of, will they be good again and go on again? Their defense is going to get better. Dan Quinn had head coaching job opportunities that he either turned down or whatever reason he didn't go to. And now he's coming back year two in this defense, reinvigorated. Micah Parsons, Trayvon Diggs, et cetera, et cetera. So the defense will be better. So I think the Cowboys will be better. The issues with the Cowboys wasn't with Dak Prescott and their number one offense. The issues was with coaching. So if anything, if you talk about the Dallas Cowboys specifically, Mike McCarthy has more pressure in that organization than anybody, number one. Number two, to the Packers example, Shay, and I respect that, right? I respect where you're coming from in the fact that Aaron Rodgers is 11-10 in the playoffs, hasn't looked good.
What, Sam?
Where's the but?
You know me too well. I believe you are a bit biased because of the Chicago connection.
Ooh.
You want to see him. I'm just saying, right? Shay, you and I go back, right? We go back, boom, boom. I played with the Bears. I get it. I'm wearing green, right? So like Packer, whatever. But I think that Aaron Rodgers did what Aaron Rodgers wanted to do. Number one, he got himself paid. $150 million guaranteed for 3 years, $50 million a year. Right? That's more than any other quarterback per year. Then he got his best friend paid. He got his homie paid. Devontae Adams went to Las Vegas and got paid, the highest paid receiver, at least at that time. And so if I'm Aaron Rodgers, I'm chilling. I'm like, dude, I got paid. I got myself paid. Yeah, legacy, I got my Super Bowl. Maybe I'll win another one. Maybe I won't. But a lot of the blame, and I get it, a lot of people in Green Bay, they're looking at the quarterback and saying, are we going to go through these issues again with COVID, with vaccine, with whatever? And I get that, and that's a real thing. But if I'm Aaron Rodgers, I'm low-key like, hey, man, look how much money I have in my bank account. Look at what I did for my team. Like our plan, our whole last dance thing, that worked out to perfection. Obviously, we didn't win a Super Bowl, but it worked out because I got mine and you got yours, and we're going to ride off in the sunset.
But
so that's why I don't
going
believe
to
that
cream route.
either Dak Prescott
route here.
So that doesn't determine success, though, and that doesn't not create pressure. So what you got paid, the last dance thing absolutely didn't work out because they didn't show up when it mattered most in the postseason. Yes, Aaron Rodgers got what he wanted, but that's what's creating the pressure because inevitably it's causing a rift between not only what's going on with the Packers, but all of the fan base. And while Tom Brady and Dak Prescott, to me, have a different kind of pressure. Dak Prescott because of the team he plays for. Tom Brady because he walked away and came back, and how can he finish on top? Aaron Rodgers is for the entire Packers organization. They need to win this year. It's win or we're going to continue to be disgruntled. All this drama for what? And you want to call me biased? That's fine. You can call me biased. Well, I don't care. I think Aaron Rodgers, and I appreciate his greatness when he's been great, hasn't amounted to anything since early in his career.
The Last Dance, Sam, we all know how The Last Dance ended. What are you talking about? This is The Last Dance. You know what? Those guys got paid and they won a chip. That's how The Last Dance ended. Yeah. What are we talking about?
All three of these dudes need to find a way to win a championship, and it's for different reasons. Yeah. But to me, the most pressure for sure resides in Green Bay.
Yeah, and are you actually saying you don't think Aaron's going to win again, Sam?
Well, not even that. What I'm saying is, like, what do you want him to do? Right? He's got back-to-back MVPs. Only 5 other people in the history of the NFL. He's the 5th person to do that. 5 MVPs. The reason they lost, you might say it wasn't a great offensive output against San Fran, but there was a punt that was blocked. Their special teams coordinator got fired. It's a new special teams coordinator that's in Green Bay right now. Even before this season, a lot of the conversation, though I don't believe this is true, a lot of the conversation was, man, they should have kept the ball in Aaron Rodgers' hands, right? It seems like it's always someone else's fault. That's what the storyline has been, right? He has 3 more years on his contract. And so, yes, he has an opportunity to change that storyline, but I don't believe, at least in comparison to like what Tom Brady, what he's done and what he's trying to achieve, and even Dak Prescott and being America's team, I don't believe that Aaron Rodgers has that much pressure. He's got back-to-back MVPs. He's like, I've done my job. Y'all traded our best receiver, so y'all figure it out. Y'all, as the Packers organization, y'all are the ones that are making us look bad. I'm winning.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
they couldn't afford that receiver because of Rodgers.
Yeah, no, I think we're all in agreement here, but I think we don't have the time to keep going on and on about Rodgers. So I think we have to, we obviously have to take a break.
I'll just say really quickly, only one of them doesn't have a championship. Only one of those guys hasn't won a Super Bowl, and that's Dak Prescott in that conversation.
Yeah.
That's a differentiator that applies.
He's also the youngest.
But that applies pressure as well. They've never done it.
And
That's
Tom Brady's the oldest.
a massive amount of pressure. Sam, thank you for joining us. We have to take a break. We could keep talking about this all day, but we got to go the NFL to the NBA. It's certainly been a super disappointing.
Unless you think that you can win it. So the question is simple. Do you think you can win the Masters this week?
I do.
Ooh, he does. Happy Thursday. Welcome into First Take. I'm Victoria Arlen, filling in for Molly alongside Jordan Cornette. Shay will be joining us soon. He's be filling in for Stephen A. And shall we do this, Jordan?
I mean, if Tiger doesn't get you fired up to do this, I don't know what does.
I don't know either.
You don't have a heartbeat.
I don't know. Yeah, no. We're counting down until Tiger Woods tees off at the 2022 Masters in Augusta. And we do have news, though, that due to thunderstorms, all the times have been pushed back by 30 minutes or so. But Tiger is expected to tee off at 11:04 this morning. His odds to win the Masters have shortened from 50-1 down to 40-1 since speaking to the media Tuesday. Tiger could tie Jack Nicklaus Sunday with his record 6th Masters win. And for more, we are going to welcome in one of the best, live from Augusta, Michael Collins. I can't believe I'm saying this because we are in New York and it's kind of expected to be cold and rainy, but Georgia, not so much. So I hope you're staying warm and dry down there, Michael.
I am right now. Thank you very much. But I'll be the first to admit it, just like y'all saw in that intro and the way both of y'all talked when you came on the air by saying, if you don't get hyped up hearing Tiger say that, nothing's going to get you hyped up. And I'll be the first person to admit I have the greatest job in the history of the universe because I get to hang out here at Augusta and watch Tiger Woods play golf, which we didn't think was going to happen. But I can tell you this about the weather. Those thunderstorms that came through started last night, and it was bad through almost 5:30 this morning. Estimated just outside of an inch and a half of rain fell, and there were some big winds, and it was just very bad. So this golf course, everyone talks about the greens here. They have this thing called sub-air underneath the greens that sucks all the moisture out of the greens. That'll dry the greens out pretty well. Now, when it's humid outside, the greens stay soft, which is what we're going to have today. But what they don't have sub-air on is the fairways, and that means it's going to be tough walking for everyone. This course is going to play long. The temperature is dropping just a little bit, but it's still in the 70s. So even though it looks kind of meh outside, the temperature is actually kind of pleasant.
Now, you know, the temperature isn't necessarily warm, as you said, but Tiger he has historically said he does not like to play in cold weather under normal circumstances. And the weather, obviously, like you just mentioned, is far from ideal. How do you see this affecting Tiger?
Yeah, today it's going to be all about how that leg holds up for 18 holes walking on a soft fairway. And for people who've never walked on a golf course before, when it gets real wet on the golf course, think about going to the beach after it rains. You know how that wet sand is and your legs just feel heavy and tired if you're out there walking around a lot? Yeah, that's what it's going to be like for walking today. What you're talking about with the temperature and with Tiger's back, that's going to start happening tomorrow. The temperature is supposed to significantly drop. We're going to be in the mid-70s today, but tomorrow we're only going to get up into the mid-60s. And on Saturday, the low is going to be around 40 degrees in the morning. Sunday will be even colder. So it's going to be really cold starting out the day, especially going through warm-ups. And that's what Tiger's talked about. When it comes to temperature, if it gets really cold, it's really hard for his back to start loosening up and get good enough to play golf. So then that becomes the worry on Friday and Saturday for Tiger.
Michael, check it out. I just watched St. Peter's get to an Elite Eight. I just watched my Cincinnati Bengals get to the Super Bowl. Tiger Woods is Superman, and I believe when he says something, I'm going to go ahead now, as outrageous as it may seem, I believe he can get it done. What are realistic expectations? We hear Tiger say, I'm going out here to win this thing, but what should we as fans temper our expectation to? The cut, just out there seeing him play golf is the win? How should we approach this as fans?
It's all a win. It's all a win for us. And let's be honest, man. If this wasn't Tiger Woods and it was someone else who said that, like, do you feel like you can win? Yeah. We'd all go, okay.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Yeah. Thanks, Rory. You can win. Mm-hmm. Okay. Whatever. Coming back from an accident like that. But here's the thing. Tiger has made a career out of people doubting him and betting against him. He won the U.S. Open on a broken leg. I mean, for him to come back and win here in 2019. Now, even Tiger said the fact that he's here, partly for him, that's a win. But if he's going to be here and compete, he's going to try and win. Is that really realistic? Think about it. How many of the players that are here are 100% healthy? Think about everything that other players had to do wrong in 2019 coming down the stretch on Sunday in order for Tiger to be in a position to win. Do I think that's going to happen again this year? No, I don't. Could it? Yes. Would I bet against Tiger? Hell no. I ain't betting against Tiger Woods. We all learned our lesson. But I think a top 20 for Tiger Woods, the way he's hitting the golf ball, that if his stamina in that leg can hold up, that's a realistic expectation. So I think making the cut would be a win, and a top 20 would be a huge cherry on the icing of a cake that has already got a ton of icing on it for all of us.
I mean, betting against Tiger is never a good thing.
My bet shows it's on Tiger. I can show you right on my phone right now if we want to do it.
Now, Arnold Palmer said that, quote, success in golf is less on the strength of the body and more strength of mind and character. So, Michael, how would you describe Tiger's mindset going into his first major tournament in 17 months?
We all know that Tiger Woods is the mentally strongest player that has been on the PGA Tour, probably of all time. I don't know any golfer who is more mentally tough than Tiger Woods, and I don't know any other golfer who's out here now or even in the past that would say they know someone who's more mentally tough than Tiger Woods. He's probably the only golfer who mind over matter actually worked for him. Most people it doesn't work for. The problem with that now is because that worked in the past, even Tiger knows at 46 years old, you really have to listen to your body. He doesn't have a choice. You know, when his body decides it's not going to do something, his mind can't say, yes, we are, and the body will go, all right, just one more time. It doesn't work that way. So for Tiger Woods, I think now that he's older and understanding that his body can't do what it used to be able to do, as mentally strong as he is, he's also mentally smart enough to understand that if his body says, let's not do this today, he's going to follow it. And trust me when I tell you, I would say this to him all the time. Listen, dude, I've never heard an athlete say that I came back way too late. Never. I've never heard that. There's a ton of athletes say, I came back too soon. And for Tiger, too, I tell him, look, the longer sometimes you stay away, that's the longer we get to see you. And what that means is if you stay away and get 100% healthy, then that means we don't have to worry about nagging injuries later, and we get to see you play a lot longer, and that's what we all want.
MC, anybody asks about you and the job you do, they say MC's a vibe. So I feel like you're the perfect person to ask about the vibe there in Augusta. Look, it's Augusta. It's always going to have a buzz, but it's different when Tiger's there and he's announced himself to be out here playing. Describe to me what it's going down like out there in Augusta.
It's as simple as this. I got here on Sunday, and then Tiger put the tweet out that he was coming on Sunday to play a practice 9, and the whole vibe changed. Everybody's excited when you come to the Masters. Like you said, it's the Masters. So it's like, man, this is going to be fun. It's Masters week. We're going to have a great time. Tiger coming. Tiger coming. And I'll tell you this. I have never seen as many patrons, the crowd as big, as I did on Monday, for a Monday. Like, for a Monday, I've never seen that many people out. It was like a Saturday at a golf tournament. It was a madhouse. It was crazy. And the vibe is this. Most of the people walking around here who recognize, they'll come up and say, yo, Caddy, Mike, Tiger, is he playing? What do you think? I don't even get the answer. Is Tiger playing? He playing. I know he's playing. He's going to play. He got to play. I'm here. Can you believe it? We're all going to see Tiger. Like, everyone was excited. And then when you saw him on the driving range, looking at how other players, how their facial expression changed when they walked up to him to say, hey, you know, give him that bro hug, and then how Tiger's expression changed. Like, that vibe is throughout this whole property.
Now, I mean, I think we were like that, too. When we found out that Tiger's, we were like, hey, wait, he's back, he's coming, he's coming. Now, you kind of alluded to the players' reactions to Tiger coming back. How does having Tiger in the mix impact the other golfers in the field?
Well, everybody wants to play against Tiger Woods, too. That's the other thing. I mean, now back in the day when Tiger was in his prime, he wasn't friends with a lot of guys out there because he was trying to beat them. Like, that was the Tiger intimidation factor. You wouldn't see him hanging out in the locker room. You wouldn't see him eating in the lunchroom. He didn't have, you know, a crew that he was hanging out with because he was, I want everybody to be afraid of me, and I want them to know that I'm the best one out here, and I want everybody to think when I show up that you're playing for second place. And there was that vibe when he was out there back in the day. But it's not like that now. Guys are friendly with Tiger, you know, and he's friendly with them. Now, he's not giving them all kinds of secrets and information. He saves that just for Justin Thomas. But that being said, guys are like friendly with him and yet still go, yeah, we're friends, but are you 100%? Because I kind of want to see your best against my best, and let's see what happens. So that's the thing. Every guy out here is so happy he's Tiger here because you know that in the annals of history, you're going to be able to look back and look at a leaderboard from 2022 in 2050 and be able to tell your kids and grandkids, hey, look, here go granddad's name right there. See where Tiger's name is? Oh, granddad's above him.
That's fair, Michael. Look, we talked about Tiger's impact with the rest of the field. Let's quickly talk about the rest of the field. Who do you predict is going to take home that green jacket? I mean, I look at Brooks Koepka. He's very dangerous. John Rahm, a lot of people are talking about. Who would you throw out there as other names to follow? Because it's not just Tiger and Augusta.
Nah, and, you know, everybody's been trying to thumb me down onto one pick. And I keep telling everybody, look, I know the media hates to hear this because, you know, most people say, I don't care who wins as long as they win on Sunday and it's over on Sunday. I think there's going to be a playoff, and I think the playoff is going to be between Brooks Koepka and Cameron Smith. Yeah, I said it. So, whatever. More golf. I love golf.
He said
More
it. What a note
yeah,
to
so
end
here's,
it on.
and I'll tell you why. Let me tell you why Cameron Smith. He'd be the first person in history to win the Players' Championship and the Masters in the same year. But you got to remember what the weather was like at the Players' Championship when he won. And that's exactly what the weather is supposed to turn into here. So you got a guy who played at a place who's got super slick greens, and that you got to hit crazy good second golf shots out there and put yourself in position. Cam did that. Now he's coming here, and he's going to have the exact same weather. Like, it's going to get cold and crazy windy. And Cam's thinking, well, this is exactly what I did at the Players' Championship. And we ain't seen him since then. So he's like, I already did this once. I can do it again. Now, Brooks Koepka, he's got a chip on his shoulder. This is probably the first time Brooks Koepka is getting to play Augusta National 100% healthy. And, oh, yeah, that frenemy, remember Dustin Johnson? Him and they used to be tight. They're not even friends no more. Yeah, guess who got a green jacket before Brooks? You think he's a little upset? I'd say yes.
Yeah. DJ's another one, though, as you casually mentioned it, Michael, to watch out for. I like DJ's odds to be in contention come Sunday as well.
I mean, what a note. What a note
I'm
to
not
end
as hot
it
as DJ as Aaron Brooks and Cam, though. Nah,
okay.
not
I mean, Cam's a value pick. I love that Cam. I'm going to lock that one in, too.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to lock down. Lot to think about. Michael, enjoy Augusta. Thank you for joining us.
Anytime. Time to go get some more egg salad sandwiches.
Ooh.
Jealous.
Oh, well, speaking of that, let's move on to the NBA, shall we? With the championship hopes at the beginning of the season, then a dramatic plot twist. The Los Angeles Lakers are done. Tuesday's 121-110 loss to the Phoenix Suns, combined with a 116-97 win by the San Antonio Spurs over the Denver Nuggets, officially eliminated the Lakers from playing contention, with 3 games remaining in the regular season. Here's Steph Curry reacting to a very interesting comment from LeBron.
You hear what your boy said?
Who, my boy?
Take a listen.
Who else you want to play with? In today's game, Steph Curry. Yeah. Steph Curry's the one that I want to play with.
Oh, shoot.
The chef. You know what? Hey, he might want to play with you next weekend now.
That is phenomenal. When did he say that? Was that on the shop?
Yeah.
I guess the latest one, yeah.
No. Well, we got his wish. So he's the captain. He's picked me the last 2 All-Star games. So I don't know if that suffices, but I'm good right now.
How's that make you feel, though?
Good right now. I mean, whenever you get the interest or curiosity of what it would be like to play with, arguably, MVP kind of caliber dude like he is, and one greatest of all time. Cool. Like, it's amazing.
Right.
We all can live in that fantasy world, though.
Cool. That's all we have to say is cool. Yeah, well, we've got more friends to the table. We got Shea Cornett and Jay Williams joining us now. And, guys, this would be a very interesting situation to see this come to life, where Steph would say, well, we all could live in a fantasy world. His reaction kind of speaks for itself towards the end, but did you like
V, I got to be honest, and Jay, I've gone back and forth on this one. I really don't want to hear LeBron tell me who else he wants to play with. Look, I know you want to play with your son. It'd be a great story. I know you might want to play with Steph. That would be a great story. But let's deal in reality, because I want to hear my legends tell me how they're going to fix the current bowl of ish that they're currently sitting in, because that's the reality of it. And yes, LeBron had a hand in this to a degree. Look, he's not necessarily Pelinka. He's not Jeannie Buss. He's not the front office, but he has some sway. And we heard Magic step up here, and Magic told us, you can go ahead and look. I can talk to you.
Well, I didn't know if you were talking to me or. Okay.
I'll try to get some FaceTime, but I'll come to you, Jay.
Okay, I would like for you to come here.
Okay, you want to do this a little two-man game right here. So to me, what it comes down to is, I've got LeBron telling me all the things he wants to happen. Reality is, he played a role in what currently happened. Does it tarnish his legacy the past year that's happened? Absolutely not. But could it tarnish his legacy if he doesn't figure out a way to get out of this next season? Then yes. And getting out of it does not involve leaving, joining forces with somebody somewhere else.
Yeah.
Figure this thing out. We just opened a show talking about Tiger Woods coming off a car accident, almost lost his life, almost lost his leg. He's out here saying, I'm going to come win the Masters. Those are the kind of legends I like to hear from. You count them out, they're going to come back, they're going to get something done. I want LeBron to tell me, hey, we're going to figure out how to unlock Russ. We're going to figure out how to keep AD healthy. We're going to figure out some savvy, low-level moves to bring in some other guys that can be impact two-way perimeter players. We're going to figure this thing out. That's what I want to hear. Not the reality world with him and Steph. I don't want to hear that stuff.
Well, in LeBron's defense, he has said that he's going to figure it out. He's talked about it throughout most of the season towards the end. And I think he is a byproduct right now of a media trap. Okay?
He's controlling that media
He's controlling
trap.
it. But he was asked a specific question. So the original question was, hey, out of all these legends, who would you like to play with? He talked about Scottie. He talked about Penny Hardaway, people that he idolized growing up. And then the question pivoted. Somebody said, well, who in today's game would you like to play with? So he answered it. Like, what's wrong with answering a question about it? I think the problem that we're starting to have with LeBron is that when you hear LeBron answer a question like that, we know how he is a mastermind at playing chess. So you automatically go to the place of, is he setting this up for the next move? But I have to defend him for a second because he's just answering the question honestly.
But what is that next move then? And why are we thinking about a next move?
That's a different conversation. He's not saying that Steph is part of the next move. He's just answering the question about if you're asking him who would like to play with, he's saying Steph.
It's not coincidental that this comes out the day after the Lakers are eliminated from the postseason because LeBron James controls this entire narrative. He's the one that produced. This is his production company. It's his show in the shop. And so while, yes, maybe this was just throwing something against the wall, to me, and I know there were a lot of other people listed in there. I think Luca, Wendy was telling us earlier, was listed in there as well. That's fine. But now, of course, we're all going to jump on it because A, it's LeBron James, and B, he controlled this narrative. And in terms of what this means for the NBA going forward, like, I partially agree with Jordan. While I do like to watch greatness, I don't think it's even good for the NBA to have these kinds of discussions. This is why we all fell in love with Giannis.
But it's not a discussion.
We're making it a discussion.
So when is a good time to have like this come out in the shop? Is it a week from now? Because whenever it would have came out,
around the All-Star
we would have
game.
put it together and we would have made it into this conversation.
I'm just saying, as you strategically float these things, and again, he said this a long time ago. It came out just now. But I think it also needs to be maybe watered down with some thoughts of, hey, he can step up there and he can float some other things about how he wants to fix what's going on there. Inevitably, Frank Vogel's going to lose his job. That's all we've heard here. And when Woj says it, it's gospel to me. So I then want to hear LeBron say something about who he'd want to be in that position to take that job. Start to float things that are going to fix the current position you're in. I don't have any issue with him saying this stuff. I just also want to hear him talk about, hey, how are we going to unlock Russ? Hey, what are we going to do? Because these three players, him, AD, and Russ, they're playing together next year.
So let's play the hypothetical game.
Let's do it.
Okay? So first off, Steph wouldn't leave Golden State. He's under contract. He's proven that he wants to stay there, so he wouldn't be coming to L.A. We're playing a hypothetical game. You're telling me LeBron James would leave L.A. to Golden State. So I go back to when Kevin Durant left OKC to then go to the Golden State Warriors, he got demolished.
I had no issue with that.
He got criticized out the yin-yang, all this stuff. If LeBron James were to leave the Lakers to go to Golden State to play with Steph, a guy that beat him in the NBA Finals multiple times, I feel like that kind of vitriol would be exponentially worse than Kevin Durant.
And I guess I go back to this.
So you can't. I don't think it would ever happen.
I'm glad you threw out the disclaimer. This is just fodder. He was just asked this question. None of us truly believe he's going to go to Golden State and play with Steph. If LeBron was watching right now, I'd be like, this is crazy that you're talking about that. But what is a reality is LeBron could end up leaving LA at some point. And I would have issue with that. Look, player empowerment, guys should go wherever they want. If people leave networks or leave different jobs, we don't judge them for that. They're doing what's best for their family, their best mental health, and what they believe is the best opportunity. But to me, with LeBron, didn't have issue with him leaving Cleveland first go round. Young kid, needed to get out, needed to see something else. Didn't have issue when he left Miami. Won a title there, got his education. Didn't have an issue when he went back to Cleveland and left Cleveland. Delivered them a title. But now you're at one of the most storied franchises sitting there playing basketball. You've delivered a title, done your job. But you're around greatness. You have a chance to surpass Kareem as the all-time leading scorer in a Lakers uniform. You want to solidify yourself as the greatest Laker ever? Win another title. And maybe it's recency bias. Maybe it's because I'm sitting here watching Tiger Woods doing what he's doing, being resilient, coming back here with that dog. I want to see LeBron say, it wasn't right last year. This is not my career. I play in the playoffs. Not only do I play, I go to the finals and I win hardware. I want to see him come back and prove this is a one-off. This is a minor stain this past season, but it will not be the story. I'm winning again in LA, and I want to see how he can figure it out because it's not laid out for him to do it, quite honestly, with how it's constructed.
But Shay, here's my problem with this. Why do we act like LeBron James is not that person?
Because he hasn't been vocal about it at all.
But the dude has played. You know how many games LeBron James has played in March in his career? You're telling me in an era in which players take rests, guys don't play. This dude at 37 years old is still playing games down the stretch.
It's incredible.
And people were saying, well, it's because he's going for the scoring title. He's dropping 40 or 50 to stay in the play-in race.
But they didn't get to the playoffs.
I understand that because the structure of their team is horrible. It's horrible. Russell Westbrook is another version of LeBron, just not at the same level. They don't have the shooters. They don't have the three.
Who had a hand in it?
I agree.
Who co-signed some?
Okay, so that's still a 33% chance that they had winning the title in 3 years. I think any realistic GM will say, yeah, this year was a crash and burn situation, but damn, I would take a title one out of every 3 years.
It didn't have to be this, though, and we don't know to what degree LeBron had a hand in it, but we sat here and
now you're being a Monday morning quarterback for a lot of teams.
We sat here and watched Magic say, you could have DeMar DeRozan. You could have Buddy Hield. You could have kept Caruso. Yeah. So if LeBron had a hand in that, then isn't it also on LeBron to say, I can't leave this thing as is?
So here's my thing. If you would have had DeMar DeRozan, if we're digging into the trenches of how the CBA works, as a sign and trade, they wouldn't have had the cap room to go out and then get a Buddy Hield. I hear what Magic's saying, but like the actual reality.
So if they had a DeMar and a Caruso on this team, take away a Buddy Hield.
I think it would be different.
You think?
I'm a firm believer of saying I think with DeMar DeRozan or a Buddy Hield and keeping Caruso would have been a difference. I know that LeBron made the wrong bet, but I'm still asking you guys to put it in its entire totality. About 1 out of 3 years, you win a championship. Like that is, I'm a Chicago Bull fan. You're a Chicago Bull fan. When's the last time they won a championship?
Don't do that to me. Don't do that. So let's not do that.
But you're taking it. These two things can be agreed upon. You can still say, job well done. You won a title 2 years ago. You can also say, you can't turn around the next season and not make the playoffs. And bigger than that, Jay, it's because of how he performed. This wasn't LeBron not getting it done. This is peak, maybe not peak LeBron, but special LeBron. It still feels like prime LeBron with the numbers he's putting up.
With AD playing 39 games this year, 36 games the year before.
Hold up, though.
And I understand that
when you had LeBron and when you had AD and when you had Westbrook on the floor together this year, when those three were whole, they were still getting outscored by the opponents. So it's not like you can simply say, bring AD back and this thing works.
Oh, I would have never said that. I mean, I think this team, structure-wise, defensively, is one of the worst defensive teams we've seen. They're old.
Because of what they let go.
It's worse than the Magic this year in terms of defense. And when they won a chip, they were either 1 through 3 in defensive efficiency the year and the year before they won that championship. They need to figure out their defense.
Which is why it's unfair to Frank Vogel. But what it comes down to is contracts could not be moved with the three pieces there. You're never going to move LeBron. You might have wanted to move AD. You're not going to get what you want from him. Yeah. Russ is collecting that $47 million. So who's the person that has to take the fall? It's the guy who built that defense. It's the guy who's won a championship as a head coach. Frank Vogel can go somewhere and win. Unfortunately, he has to be the lame duck in his position. It's not fair. It's just the only way, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's you know, I guess hopefully you hope for the Lakers a setback is just a setup for a greater comeback, and you hope that Frank Vogel goes somewhere where he can have a little bit more momentum. But let's move from the West Coast to the East Coast, shall we? In a city that never sleeps, the Brooklyn Nets came back in epic fashion from a 21-point deficit to seal a 110-98 victory Wednesday night against the New York Knicks. And that win put the Nets one game back off the Cavs for the 7th in the East, and they play each other in a big matchup tomorrow night. So here is KD on that Knicks-Nets rivalry.
Yeah, I just seen it. We 7-0 since I've been here. Oh, you talking about, damn, that, is when I was at the Thunder? What year was that? 13. I got something to talk about on Twitter now.
We've got something to talk about on Twitter. Now, with that big win, the Nets have a lot of momentum going in the right direction. So what defines that postseason success for them, Shay?
Well, postseason success is a little different than what's right in front of them, because right in front of them, they need to win their next 2 games in order to lock up the 7th seed, and that is for certain. And their game against the Cavs tomorrow night is a big one. So that's first and foremost. In terms of what's going to happen in the postseason, it's obviously getting to a quote-unquote regular playoff. Therefore, they have to win a postseason series, which would be in the play-in. And to me, that would be the most success that the Nets can have at this point. We've seen these holes, and we saw it in the first half yesterday against the Knicks, where they were absolutely horrendous, including Kevin Durant, who I tend to think is the best player in the NBA right now. If you go into halftime having 0 rebounds and 9 points, and that's what you're putting on the floor as your best 1-2 punch in him and Kyrie, that scares me heading into the postseason. I have no idea what this Nets team is going to be when they're faced with actual challenges and not a Knicks team that really looked like they weren't even trying for half of that game. But here's what I do know in terms of trying to spin this positive, because I like to sometimes be the one that's a little more glass half full.
I respect it.
The Nets at this point are 8-4 in 1-possession games. They're getting better. If you look down the East, which is a crowded East, especially at the top, Miami is 3-6 in such games, Boston 3-9, Philly 6-6. Again, in terms of 1-possession games, the Nets are the gold standard. And so if they can continue to keep games close and then pull away at the end, it's not the scoring that we're questioning, it's going to be the defense. And then I hate to say this because I know this is going to open a lot of debate, but that's what we're here for. If you get Ben Simmons to at least have a little bit of an effect on the defense, perhaps then you could win more than just a series. What did I tell you?
The can of worms has been opened.
I've never seen you and Jay argue, so I actually y'all get along so well.
Oh, boy.
I want to see this.
All right, yeah, go ahead, Jay. Go ahead.
First, Victoria.
Okay, sure. Oh, boy, no. What did I do?
She's just asking a question.
I know, but you stated the question as this is Kevin Durant on his rivalry with the Knicks. That's laughable.
I know.
A rivalry means both sides have to win games.
I was trying.
She likes the Packers-Bears rivalry, so maybe it doesn't matter.
I like the New York storyline.
Lost to the New York Knicks was in 2013.
I know, but
when he was with OKC. There's no rivalry there. I wish Stephen A. were here today because he's supposed to give me a nice little $6,000 Tom Ford suit. When I tell you, because he had the Knicks going to the Eastern Conference.
But he called it a rivalry after the game.
Basketball expert.
He called it a rivalry after the game. He did call it a rivalry after the game.
Hold on, we also can't. We gotta give Stephen A. some love too here. That man did say they're down 67 points for the Knicks in that first half. We know what the Knicks are gonna do. And the Knicks certainly did in the second half. So we gotta give some love.
I'll give him love on the back end after he said, New York, stand up. New York, we here. We here. Stand up. I wish he were here. So that's one. I just had to address you.
Do you want me to leave? Is that
No. We're actually on the same page.
Wow.
Okay, I can't wait.
Okay, we're on like.
So I know expectation is always championship or bust for Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. But here's why they get a pass this year. And let's just be realistic about it. We don't know what the hell is going on with Ben Simmons.
No.
Lord knows we want to know what's going on with Ben Simmons in his back, because I believe if he were actually on the floor, if he came in with a reasonable time frame between when the Nets are playing and the playoffs started, I would have said that would have been enough time for this guy to find his chemistry with this team, understanding what their defensive identity is, and I think he brings a different dynamic to this team. Then I would have said, you know what, it's championship. Me realistically watching this team defend, when I watched the Houston Rockets, I was at the game sitting courtside. When Kevin Porter and Jalen Green go for 30+, I'm sitting there saying, what? Wow, this is where this team is. When I can drag Andre Drummond on the ball screen, I can score against Andre Drummond, and I feel like I got one leg out there. So my thing is not having Joe Harris on the floor, a guy who defensively is part of the backbone of this team. Like, that hurts this team. Not having Ben Simmons hurts this team, right? So I still think they're prolific. They're lethal scorers that can take you in the playoffs. But realistically, them getting through the play-in tournament, and if matchup-wise, if they're playing against the Milwaukee Bucks and the Milwaukee Bucks get number 1 seed, like, I don't expect them to beat the Milwaukee Bucks. Like, I don't know if I would expect them to beat the Boston Celtics. If they got the Philadelphia 76ers, I could potentially see that a matchup that they could win, just knowing the history there of how that would bring the best out of Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. But knowing Doc Rivers, Doc don't want to see the Brooklyn Nets.
No.
So I don't see the Philadelphia 76ers going for the number 1 seed to see this team. So my thing is, if they win a playoff series, I think that is a successful year to a degree.
Stop it.
That's realistic.
A successful season when you thought at the beginning of the year it was going to be Harden, Kyrie and KD.
But see, that's my thing.
But that's
when you
part of
thought
failure.
it was going to be.
But that's part of
But
failure.
that's not where they are.
You're adjusting what reasonable expectation is now. And to see how far that expectation has come to where they are currently, you'd have to call it a failure. And I'll do you one better. I'm glad I had a chance to sit here and listen to you two kind of go back and forth and ultimately come harmoniously here, because I didn't believe this until this very moment. I wouldn't play Ben Simmons at all. I wouldn't show him at all in this postseason, because it's stacked against him. And it's stacked against the Nets in this postseason. And so, yes, KD is 34 years old. It's clearly win now, especially when they made the move you did. But is it win now because you made the move you did? You're set up to be good for a few years here in Brooklyn. What do we know about Ben Simmons right now? That he's not in the best mental health space.
Yep.
And also, we now know that his back might be a little bit jacked up too. He's not deemed the savior for this squad, but he kind of is. Because with KD and Kyrie, 2 first-ballot Hall of Famers that can light it up offensively, but they're lacking a defensive component. It's a belief that all of a sudden Ben Simmons shows up defensively, they're going to go on a run. Not quite. Hasn't played in a year. Conditioning in question, mental health in question in his headspace, given what we saw him last time on the floor. And oh, by the way, can his body hold up? In the postseason, mind you. So to me, I think keep this a clean runway. Just shelve him off. See what KD and Kyrie can provide, maybe some fireworks, maybe Shay's right, but don't do it with Ben Simmons. So it's too late now in the game to throw this guy in a pressure situation like that. How do you feel about Ben Simmons and pressure?
Oh, I don't like it. And all that sounds great. But I'm sorry, what were your expectations for the Nets? Like, how far did you expect them to go? Because I didn't hear an answer.
At the beginning of the year, title.
Well, obviously at the beginning. What are we talking
It's
about? April right now.
But that still has measurement in where we are.
And what is your measurement?
Now, there's no way that if they get through the play-in.
So what's your expectation?
I'm telling you, if they get through the play-in, great. You know who they might see? The 2-seeded Celtics. Do you know what Jason Tatum did to this Nets defense?
Actually, we'll give them a shot against the Celtics. Not having Robert Williams.
54 against
not having the time load really helps.
Okay.
It really helps. It really helps New York.
You never know with Robert Williams when he could return in that series, for one. We don't know. But yes, you're right. All I know is what Brown and Tatum can do to that defense, that perimeter defense, is going to be ugly.
So what you're saying is at the end of the day,
they don't make it through a 7-game
You
series.
agree with Shay and I. That's what you're saying.
That you think they win one?
But how I look at that ultimately in the grand scheme of things,
failure.
How that season looks is a failure.
Yeah.
So with KD having a knee injury, being out for a while. By the way,
come on, injuries happen everywhere.
No, but these all play into it.
Hold on. They were number 1 in the East when KD went down. True. With Kyrie playing part-time because of the vaccine. Then James Harden decides that he doesn't want to be there anymore, checks out. They're forced to make a trade. I understand that as athletes, we're always going to look at either you win a championship or bust, because that will always be my mentality. And I see that for KD and Kyrie. But realistically, when you put this season into perspective, you can't realistically call it a failure because of all the things that they were dealing with. If you're saying all these guys were playing and it wasn't Kyrie with the pandemic and that Ben Simmons was there and they're all together, fine. If they have injuries in that aspect, fine. But that's not been the case this whole year.
John Morant, injury. Memphis goes 21-3. You can overcome injury if you're constructed properly. Second part, part-time player.
But defensive-minded team.
Part-time player.
Pieces.
Kyrie Irving made this decision. Respect his decision. Everybody has their own right. But you're laying out domino things that have happened, which prove expectation beginning of the season. Where they are is reality here. And that is a steep decline, which leads to it's a failure of a season, given how you started it.
Okay.
Well, I mean, how you start, how you end can drastically change, as we saw with the Lakers as well. But we got to take a break, so we're going to leave on a harmonious note, shall we? We all agree with
nothing about this show that's harmonious.
Oh, well, we're going to try to be harmonious, shall we? Okay. Moving on, we're going to take a break. NFL QB storylines have dominated the offseason, so which superstar signal caller is under the most pressure next season? The answers will definitely surprise you. Plus, it's been a hugely disappointing season for the LeBron, AD, Westbrook trio in LA, but wait till you hear what Jay Will had to say that made everyone raise their eyebrows. First take, coming right back.
What I say now?
Which is going to tie beautifully.
He's like, what did I say now?
It's officially eliminated LA from playing contention with 3 games remaining in the regular season. Now, Jay Williams, you had a bit of a bombshell statement on the Lakers.
The Lakers are the most disappointing team in sports history.
Yeah,
I know
think
he
you're right.
said in Lakers history, I would challenge anybody to tell me what team had more hype that fizzled
Give me a candidate,
out.
Jay. Give me a candidate.
I don't even know a candidate. I don't know a candidate that we talked about had a chance to get to the NBA Finals or the Super Bowl that didn't make the playoffs. They didn't make the playoffs, man. Like, that's how bad. We're talking about the turmoil that they've had as a team, ownership perspective, the drama around Russell Westbrook, that reality show happening every single day. He's lost his jump shot. You tell me what other team has turned into a train wreck like the Lakers have this year.
Ooh. I mean, I grew up a Red Sox fan, so there was a lot of disappointment for a very long time. We've got Shay, Jordan, and Jay with us. Did you agree with Jay's take on these Lakers are the most disappointing team in history?
You don't agree with his take. Shay, you don't agree with his take.
No.
Jay, I don't even know if you agree with your take on this one, and here's why. You can look in the same season here and tell me it could be Brooklyn just as much as it could be LA. And you're going to say, well, Brooklyn's making the playoffs, the play-in. What if they lose in the play-in? Are they not in the same boat? When I saw this Lakers roster constructed, I said, it's an old group. It's a clunky roster. I don't think AD is going to hold up. I don't really know how Russ fits. I didn't have this team pegged as a team that was going to go win a championship. I didn't believe it.
Oh, so you think you just predicted everything?
No, I didn't think they'd be this
Jay's
bad.
taking notes. We're taking notes.
I love you both so much. She knows you so well.
Oh, I predicted
She knows
it.
you
Clunky
so well.
roster, wasn't going to work. AD was going to get banged up. What else? You got a
I
crystal
try to
ball?
get away from this when I come to work.
You can't.
This is not
No,
good.
it follows you everywhere you go.
Look, here's my thing. I didn't expect this team to be great. I didn't expect them to be historically awful. But there's plenty of ways you can look at Brooklyn and say, what's different? I guess, what was your expectation for this team? You thought that Russ, AD, and LeBron were going to be title contenders? I didn't never believe that. So there's no way that I could think this was that kind of massive failure. And also, you're sitting here caping for LeBron, and I love it because I'm a LeBron guy, but you're saying LeBron delivered a title 2 years ago, so we need to chill. Like, he's achieved something there. So then how can you turn around and say, just you flip the page to the next season, and it's the worst sports gaffe in history from a team? That seems like a extreme from one to the other. It doesn't quite balance out fairly.
The operative word was disappointing. Disappointing. I didn't say worst team. I said disappointing.
Which comes with most disappointing in sports history. Sports history.
I know what I said. Yes.
All sports.
Yes, I did.
Which comes with expectation.
So I would love for you guys to give me some examples of bigger gaffes that have happened in other sports teams. But let me give you a couple things. You're trying to compare it to Brooklyn. Brooklyn's in the play-in tournament.
That's not the playoffs.
And where are the Lakers? Let me finish. I'm sorry. The Lakers are 17 games under 500. 17 games under 500. Let me just tell you what Adam Silver and the NBA have done to help teams who are on the verge of being on the outside looking in to get into the playoffs. Oh, let's expand it to 10 teams per conference. 10 teams per conference. Let me tell you when this whole team came about. 5 Hall of Famers on the same team. 2 guys who are part of the top 75 all-time players list on the same team. A guy involved in the greatest of all-time player conversation between him, Mike, Kareem, whatever you want to put in that, in the conversation. They have 48 losses. It's the most of a LeBron James career. And you're telling me all this stuff that we've seen with Russell Westbrook, not by a Hall of Famer, can't find his jump shot? Can't find his jump shot. AD, who can't be available for a team that 2 years ago won the championship, for a team that then came the next year and LeBron James had his first round exit in a playoff series ever. And the guys are talking about keep calling us old. That's disappointing. We're not talking about the Milwaukee Bucks. We're not talking about the Memphis Grizzlies. We're talking about the history of the Lakers.
So then maybe we can revise your comment and maybe it could sit a little bit better in this big belly of mine. Maybe if you said this front office had one of the worst off seasons.
But that's team, though. That's team. I look at team as front office, ownership, and the team constructed.
It's what you could have had, it's what you let go, and it's what you brought in. And the collaboration of all this. And by the way, let's not forget about that top 10 pick. Where's that top 10 pick going?
It's 2027. It's not going anywhere.
It's protected now. It's going to New Orleans for this upcoming season as a top 10 pick.
Yes.
That is also part of this whole thing. So now you literally have no option to fix it. And now we're sitting here saying they have to figure it out with LeBron, AD, and Westbrook again. Now, I think you can, but I think it's going to be an extreme reach. So I look at this front office and I say, front office, what a massive failure. Frank Vogel can coach. Frank Vogel built that defense to a top 3 defense. He's a defensive mastermind. He's a championship coach. AD's a Hall of Famer who can't stay healthy, and you knew that.
A couple questions.
Russell Westbrook is too old and doesn't fit there as it's constructed, and you knew that, and you let it sit here and play out like this.
This is great. Keep
Talk
telling
to
me more because you're making my point.
But
when you look,
why are you saying this now? You could have said this at the beginning of the season about the Lakers.
Why do I?
When they made all these moves, you could have said this.
I didn't need to say that the Lakers are the most disappointing team before I even see them play a game. Why would I say that at the beginning of the year?
There were high hopes in the beginning.
When you say the Lakers, doesn't the front office, aren't they included in the Lakers name?
My point is, Jay, what got you to this point? What got you to this point? You should have been right there at the beginning of the season.
But wait, what are you arguing against my point that they're not the most disappointing team, or are you arguing about the timing of my point? I'm confused
because
now.
if I didn't have expectations for this team, if I had high expectations and said that roster goes and wins a title, and we sit here right now, then we say yes.
Jordan Cornette.
They were the odds-on favorite, though, to win.
Let me read. So here's
and Tigers.
Since the preseason title favorites were first announced before the 1984-85 season, the top teams have never failed to make the playoffs. The Lakers are the first team to do so in NBA history.
Okay, but you're saying, can I just interrupt really quick? You're saying that this is the most disappointing team in sports. We're not even just talking about sports. We're not even just talking about the NBA. Look, this Lakers team is terrible. This is not where anyone thought they would be, not playing in the postseason. They're 32 games back, essentially, from where I thought they would be, which is towards the top of the West. They're nowhere close to that. They're terrible. And towards down the stretch, they were giving up over 100 points per game. They can't figure it out on either end of the floor. The only thing I'll say to you is there's been so many disappointments in sports. I could go even to, like, the Browns this year in football. Look, were they, hold on, were they pegged to win a chip? No. Were they pegged to win multiple playoff games? 100% yes, with all the talent they were bringing back. I'm not saying the Browns are the Lakers, but to say they're the most disappointing team ever seems like such a stretch.
That's where I lay.
Do the Browns have potentially the greatest player of all time?
And we know what the Browns franchise is.
It's like Tom Brady when these guys won the championship, a Super Bowl, and then they came back the next year and didn't make the playoffs.
But what about Steve Nash, Dwight Howard, and Kobe Bryant? What about that Lakers iteration when they brought those three together and that was supposed to work? That was a massive failure. What about the Dallas Cowboys in these last few seasons when you spent all the money that Jerry Jones has and it's come to nothing? Not even sometimes playoff burst period, but certainly not postseason wins.
Were they odds-on favorite to win it?
I'd have to go back and look.
No, they weren't.
There was massively high
expectations. Odds-on favorite to win it.
But that's my issue.
So here's my thing. If you guys want to come at me, and if you want to give me examples of teams that you think were more disappointing than a team that has 5 Hall of Famers on it, than a team that has the greatest player of all time that finished 17 games below 500.
Chill out on greatest of all time. Let's calm down on that.
All right,
he's in the conversation.
He's in the combo, but he's
in the
not.
combo.
It's not a full-gone conclusion.
That's fine, but he's in the conversation.
I'm trying to ask you, I'm laying it out right in front of you. If this Brooklyn squad loses in the play-in game, knowing that they've had 3 Hall of Famers to begin the season, 3 surefire, kind of in their prime Hall of Famers, younger, not nearly as long in the tooth as this Lakers squad, stacking those rosters, you're telling me it wasn't the same belief with the Brooklyn Nets as it was with the Lakers? And oh, by the way, if Brooklyn does lose those 2 games in the play-in and finds themselves out, it's not much different, Jay.
It is this conversation has nothing to do with the Brooklyn Nets.
It's another team to throw out there to compare to it.
Because James Harden wanted to be out. He was gone. There's a lot of other things that happened.
Because of the mess that
During
it was.
The season, Jay.
I understand. I mean, look, I've said this. I thought that was the greatest trio that the game has never got a chance to witness. I understand all that.
That's a failure.
That is a failure.
That's
You're right.
a disappointment.
It is a disappointment. It is. But what I'm trying to tell you is, even when KD went out and didn't play. Like, they were number 1 in the East with KD. When he went out, it didn't play. LeBron James and Russell played the majority of the season. Like, Russell Westbrook was an MVP, and a guy that led the league in triple-doubles for a very long time. Like, that's a hell of a combination.
So tell me this. If AD stays healthy, if LeBron stays healthy, Russ stays healthy, which means
ask you a question,
means that whole roster is still constructed as is. You have the same expectations next year
With LeBron James playing at an MVP-like state and Russell Westbrook on the same team, would you have told me at the beginning of the year you would have expected them not to be in the playoffs?
No, but I would have told you I would not expect them to win a championship.
Okay, would you have told me if they were in the play-in, would you have said that would have been a disappointing season?
Absolutely.
If I told you they're going to be 17 games below 500, where would you have ranked that?
A massive disappointment.
Okay.
But
massive disappointment.
This is just such hyperbole for me.
I agree with you, Shay. I think that's a little bit of a bombshell remark to make. We could probably debate that all day. We don't have time to do that.
I just want you guys to tell me examples of teams who are more disappointing.
Oh, we'll do that during the break. We'll do that during the break.
I was expecting you guys to do that during the debate.
No, we'll do that. It is time now to take your pick. Lucas showing those ball skills last night against the Pistons. 4 minutes left in the third. He's going to drive in and dish it out in a play that results in 2 for the Mavs. Or how about this one, shall we?
I mean,
in the fourth quarter, 3:30. All right, we're going to do this one, all right? The
first one wasn't a dime. It was
no, that wasn't a dime. Come on, we got another one. The fourth quarter, 3:30 left. Lucas spins to put up the shot, not behind. He gets it to Dorian Finney-Smith, who sinks the three. Take a look at this. I mean, I got so excited about this one that I jumped ahead, but that was spectacular. Which one was the better one, guys?
Don't stick. The second one for me is
second one, yeah. I was so excited to show that one.
Low key, I know that he's not in the conversation with a Giannis, a Joel Embiid, or a Jokic, even though I think he does belong.
Yeah.
Bring it to the table.
He's giving work to everybody.
Yeah.
He's put people on blast.
Have I not been saying this?
He's going to need to in these playoffs, too, if you expect this Mavs team to be anything. But
well, speaking of the Mavs, shall we? They won big in Detroit, and Luka did it all with 26 points, 14 assists, and they've now won 7 of their last 9 and are half a game behind the Warriors for the third spot in the West. And Dallas holds the tiebreaker over the Warriors, and that 3 seed is important because you avoid the piping hot Phoenix Suns in a potential second-round matchup. So, Shay, the Warriors have gone through a bit of a rut patch since losing Steph Curry to that injury, but Steve Kerr says that Steph is ramping up for a playoff return. So, who is the bigger threat in the West? Is it the Warriors or the Mavs?
Yeah, the Warriors have struggled to stay healthy. So for me, consistency has been a problem there. And finally, we're starting to see Klay Thompson come along. Yes, and obviously when they didn't have Draymond Green, it was a major problem. But to me, I'll take this Mavs team all day because of what we were just talking about with Luka Doncic. He's played extremely well in the second half. And nobody's even talking about it at all. Yeah. Talk about a threat. This is a Dallas team that went 34-16 against the West. That's just a smidge less, or a smidge worse, I should say, than the Suns and the Grizzlies, who everyone has basically going all the way to the finals. Both of these teams take one or the other. And so for me, this is a Mavs team that's flying under the radar. They have other guys that can help out, including Luka, in addition to Luka Doncic. And he's doing things like this, just passing behind the back. Yeah, no one's even paying attention to him. Oh, and by the way, we're over here this morning talking about how LeBron wants to play with them. He's got all this juice behind him. Give me the Mavs.
A lot of juice.
It's fool's gold.
Why?
Because the playoffs, everything gets different. You get exposed for what you really
love what? See, now this is
Did you not see these moves?
No. This is when being married comes into play because I've watched playoff games with Jordan. I've watched him watch Luka Doncic, and I know you have said multiple times you enjoy watching him and give you him over half the people in the league.
Can I go ahead and tell you why I don't like him?
Yeah, but you're lying.
Can I go ahead now?
Go ahead.
I'll tell you exactly why. It's an undersized group. It's an undersized group that defends really well because they can switch everything and be interchangeable. They're going to bomb you out. But Luka has to be nuclear these entire playoffs for this team to truly go on a run. Whereas when I look at a team like the Warriors, give me the Warriors all day because of who Jordan Poole has become alongside Steph Curry when he's healthy.
Yep.
These are elite shot creators and shot makers. Now, big question marks, bigger than Dallas's. How healthy is Steph? How healthy is Dre and Klay? How healthy are all 3 of those guys to go on a run? But if it is, culture's in place. They know who they are. They can defend. Maybe not top 5 to the place that this Mavs team can present with the interchangeable pieces. They know how to guard. They know who they are. And the emergence of Jordan Poole has been magnificent to watch over these last month and a half or so.
Bigger West threat, Dubs or Mavs?
Dubs.
Neither.
Neither. All right, who's your pick then?
I am so tired of the national disrespect
for the Suns.
To the Memphis Grizzlies.
That wasn't. To
the Memphis Grizzlies.
Yes.
Phoenix is the best team in the NBA.
Yes.
They're the best team in the NBA.
No question.
So the question is, who is the biggest threat to the Phoenix Suns?
Grizzlies.
That is the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, people can sit there, look at the dynamic of how they play, how they defend, 20-2 without Ja Morant. And I want you guys to understand something, because for me, matchups matter, right? And I'm not saying that I think Steph or these guys would dwindle in these situations because Steph is incredible. But, I think that we don't look at Ja Morant as if he's on the same level of some of the other players. And I can tell you that when you watch him play, when he's on the court, with the way this team is constructed, with Steven Adams, the size they have down low, with Desmond Bane, DeAnthony Melton, the way they shoot the ball, the way they defend, the way they play collectively together, that I do think the biggest threat to the Phoenix Suns.
This is bigger, Jay. This isn't biggest. This is bigger of these 2 teams. I agree with you. I take the Suns over the Grizzlies. I think the Suns are going to win it all this year.
We all would. We would all
say of these 2 teams, which one is bigger? You got to believe in one of these 2 teams. You got
to go where?
If you had to pick one or the other.
To go where?
To go further.
To go further in the playoffs?
As a 3 and 4 seed to go further. They're going to see the Jazz, or they're going to see the Nuggets.
Which one of those? I would say Golden State.
Golden State.
There you go.
Okay.
It's the firepower that they have, the depth that they have. But like what I'm trying to tell you is at the end of the day, this is going to come down to the Memphis Grizzlies and the Phoenix Suns.
I agree.
But the Grizzlies are so young. Like, we're just shooing them into the postseason like it's nothing.
You've been on these guys all year.
I love this Grizzlies team, and I love to watch them. But in the postseason, when they're so inexperienced and they haven't been there before, it's concerning to just pencil them in the way Jay is.
Look, I watched them play.
But they've been playing
My
really
thing
well.
is they've been one of the, other than Phoenix, they've probably been the second most consistent team in the NBA this entire season.
And it would have been the Bucks if Brook Lopez had been healthy.
1,000%. But I feel like there's certain teams when you watch as an analyst, you're like, my question for the Lakers, I never knew who the Lakers were. Were you a fast break team? Were you a low post threat team? What's your identity? When I watch Memphis, I know who you are. I know what I'm going to get each and every night. And I can't, I feel like I know to a degree who Golden State is, but Clay not playing for 2 years, coming in trying to find his way. Steph coming off the injury this late in the season. Draymond, there's still an identity there. There's some questions around whether they will be that team hitting on all cylinders.
And I agree. And to go back quickly to the conversation of Dubs Mavs, it's to me about the next step for Luka. If Luka can do something in this postseason with how this thing is constructed, it enables him to say, Ja Morant love deserve it, but Luka can say, hey, it's me. This is my league when these guys are done, when the Stephs, when the LeBrons move on. I know we love Ja, but we need to love Luka, and it's an opportunity for him. I give you the Grizzlies. 21-3 without Ja, are you kidding me? Desmond Bane's emergence has been remarkable.
Incredible.
It's been remarkable. What that group as an entire group has done has been remarkable. It almost feels like they're an anomaly, to be honest. But if we're going to the entire West and we're really opening this thing up, give me the Suns all day. And to go no further than that interview that we saw Chris Paul and we saw D Book have with Doris Burke. And when we're sitting there, by the way, that's one of the hardest interviews I've ever seen. Because you showed a clip, and I can't remember who was defending, Davion Mitchell for the Kings, out there on the island defending D Book. Doris Burke breaks it down, freezes the video and goes, shot clock winding down. D Book's looking at it, and she goes, you're under duress. And you still go out there, have the wherewithal to look at the clock and know what to do. And he quickly interjects and goes, I wouldn't say duress. And you know what Chris Paul said after that was? Chris Paul was like, we're good because D-Book doesn't have to take that shot. Everybody's capable of making that shot. That's a group with 4 guys that space you out, with Ayton, who knows exactly who he is. It's the deepest group in the league. They're ready to do it before anybody. So you can throw the Grizzlies talk in there. They ain't ready for the Suns.
But
the Suns ain't worried about the Grizz.
I think they have a chance to get there. My only thing was if CP3 didn't come back, I thought they would have a legitimate chance to win. But with him being healthy on the floor, they're the best team in the West.
37 years old, Jay? We're talking about 37-year-old LeBron James?
See, for me, this is the best opportunity.
CP3?
I think CP3 has to win one.
Why do you say that?
Because the way everything went this year, right? The Lakers obviously falling off the map. The injury to Stephen Curry later in the season. And the continuity that you're expecting Golden State to find so quickly. Ja Morant even dealing with some of his injuries, right, down the stretch. Will he be fully healthy when it's time to go? Even though I've seen him work out, I think he will be. But if you look at the East, like Milwaukee, I think is the best team in the East. But how much will the East do to the depth with Miami, with Brooklyn, like all these teams? Like, will they beat up on each other? I just feel like when it comes time for it, this is the best opportunity Phoenix has and CP3 will have to win one.
Yeah, and they went on the road, too. And that's something that I feel like is diminished in the league sometimes. But their road record speaks to this is a mature group that's handled the turbulence, if you will, with the season. Chris Paul came back. Devin Booker proved his value, too, in that time. Devin Booker needs to be talked about in this MVP conversation a little bit more than he has been, if you ask me. If we're giving flowers all around, we need to talk about Devin a little bit more.
Yeah,
too.
I agree. The Suns team is the one thing I think we all can agree on. Everything's so wide open in the East, but in the West, it's a clear path for the Suns. I like this Grizzlies team. It's just the youth scares me. I love Luka. When they traded away Kristaps Porzingis, to me it felt like this was Luka's team and this is Luka's time. So he's got to put up or shut up now here in the postseason.
It's not enough.
Just real quick, Devin Booker, I hate, and I have to state this, I hate that the narrative keeps changing for what we deem the MVP to be. Is it the best player on the best team? Because if that's the case, then it's Devin Booker. But I will say, as things are going down the stretch, if Jokic and the team, they get into the play-in, I feel like the MVP should go to Joel Embiid. What Joel Embiid has done has been tremendous for the Philadelphia 76ers.
You know what I love? That it's all bigs. It's Giannis, it's Embiid, it's the Joker. Everybody talks about guards. At the end of the day, it's these hybrid bigs that can have guard-like skills. Still bully you down low. I love that that part of the game is still there.
Well, we've got legends in the making, and we got to take it to a break. But speaking of a legend, we've got Tiger Woods, who's returning to Augusta and is playing for the first time. We've got a long-awaited return. Tiger Woods, his first shot.
Pushed it.
Pushed it a little bit.
Here's what I worry about with Tiger, that reconstructed right leg, that's his back leg in which he gets all of his thrust. You even see on that swing that he didn't really gauge all the way through, and that's why you push a shot like that, because you're not actually following through, you're pushing it.
And I don't want to be TMI, but Shay, you have been in an accident that involved your leg. What happens when it gets cold and rainy and windy?
Yeah, it's achy. It hurts right now because it's rainy here in New York. So it could be like causing him some problems because of the weather there in Augusta.
And that's what we had kind of talked about earlier. And Tiger playing in his first event since that terrible car accident, and it's the Masters of all events. I mean, this just solidifies that he is one of the greatest to ever get out there. What's at stake for Tiger, though, Jordan?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing's at stake for him here. We're getting a chance to watch Tiger Woods televised in Augusta.
Yeah.
Place he won his first Masters 25 years ago. I was 14 years old at the time, and I fell in love with the sport because I watched somebody of the same skin color as me do something so dominant out there. I wanted to do it myself.
Yeah.
I thought we were going to be devoid of that. Selfishly, when this man almost lost his life, almost lost his leg, I first thought, of course, is my favorite athlete of all time, right next to Michael Jordan, going to be okay? And I said, am I going to be able to see him again? Because I want to have those moments again. I want to share them with my son. I watched him with his son. To me, what is so cool and fascinating about this whole thing is, what was Tiger Woods 25 years ago and all the way through when he went on his run? He was too darn good. He was too darn distant. Some may say arrogant. He just was not easy to get around, even though he looked like me and I wanted to have this affinity for him. I still loved him throughout. Now he is a father. Now he is a man who's found love again for the first time in his life. He's got a partner. He's invested as a father. He's been publicly embarrassed yet again. He's battling stuff that we know about in terms of issues with certain things. He's compelling to root for again. Collectively, I think everybody's like, I want to see this guy continue to figure it out. We've been on a journey with him throughout his entire life. It's mirrored my life, not with experience, but just how I've grown. Don't look at me like that. I haven't had those experiences. In all honesty, though, we've come along and grown with Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
And I'm just happy that I get a chance, Jay and Shay, to watch him out there again.
Yeah, to me, I agree with you. There's no real expectation here for Tiger. I don't care if he plays 9 holes. I don't care if he doesn't make the cut. I'm just happy to see him teeing off at Augusta. And truthfully, that's it. Tiger Woods, we've ridden this roller coaster with, and this man has more comeback stories, I think, than anyone. And so this is just another chapter in it.
And he's come back.
And he's come back.
Yeah,
and I think that's what, we can all attribute to him being one of the greatest athletes of all time.
Yeah.
But in terms of expectations at Augusta, 0. He's already exceeded them, in my opinion, just being out there today and just saying he's going to play and give it the old college try. To me, it doesn't matter what he does.
What about you?
What's at stake for Tiger? I think a lot. Because I'm going to look at myself as Tiger right now.
Yeah.
Tiger only wants to play events to win.
You said that earlier.
As an athlete, I go into everything to win. Coming back off my leg injury, I tried to play to win. Now, it wasn't until I was retired that you have time to reflect on things, and then you're able to put things into perspective about, all right, like how am I labeling my comeback? Like me walking again, me spending time with my family.
Yes.
That's worth way more. But I love the fact that for him right now, it's about winning it.
Yeah.
And like sometimes I feel like as an athlete, there are certain benchmarks that you want to hit. Not that it validates you to yourself because you know your own greatness, but there is something that you need to chase. Like, for me, like going to like a race, like a dog race, like seeing the dog chase the rabbit, right? Like the Jack Nicklaus being up 3 more majors for him, like in his mind, I know that's something he wants to attack because it keeps him engaged.
Yeah.
So for him, I think there's a lot at stake, which this is what makes me want to watch Tiger more because he's not coming out there just to play charity golf. He's coming out there with an attack and a mindset to win, which is what I love about him.
Sorry.
And if he achieves that, if he does the unthinkable, y'all, and
he's
wins
within
this,
2. Yeah.
Call it hyperbole if you want to.
Yeah.
This would be the greatest sports achievement that I've seen in my lifetime.
Yeah.
How could it not be? Think about how, and totally different experiences, but very life-threatening. And we saw, it was documented, one of my good friends, Dan Lindbergh, did the feature on Alex Smith and what it took for Alex Smith just to return to the field. Now, that involved infection and how he almost lost his leg.
Yeah.
But when you actually saw up close what Alex Smith went through to get back to the field, he's come back player of the year the minute he threw a football.
Yeah.
It was incredible that he got there.
Well,
We don't have the cameras to show what happened with Tiger Woods and what he went through. We go off what we've been reported and told.
Yeah.
He almost lost his life. He almost lost his leg, not through infection, but almost went through a lot of the same things.
Yeah.
He's already shown up and done that part. What if he wins a Masters? What if he wins a 6th Masters? Are you kidding me? Who could ever, when that moment happened, it was done. We're not going to see him again. Wins a Masters? I can't even bring myself to say it because it's crazy.
Yeah.
If he could go out there and do something like that, I've never seen anything greater in sports. Not even close.
Well, and I think it's so inspiring for anyone who's watching who are going through tremendous loss or struggle that the victory, yes, he's walking, yes, but he's still going. He's still inspiring people that like, hey, this was one mountain I climbed. I got to another peak. I want to go higher. I want to go higher. I want to go higher. And I think that's a lesson we all can be inspired by, is that you have to just keep going for those goals and going for those goals. And Tiger stepping out there is an example of, yes, he had his whole world kind of implode, but he not only got out there, he's on his feet, he's taking those steps, but he's now taking those like huge steps into inspiring people that like, hey, I had this tremendous setback, but this is about the comeback. This isn't just about walking. This isn't about just surviving. This is now learning how to thrive, learning how to live again, and inspiring other people that, hey, you may be down in the dumps, you may be going through something, but like, just because you get out of that hospital bed, you get off the crutches, or you get out of that wheelchair, there's still more victories to achieve, and that's what it's an incredible like thing we're witnessing in real time.
By the way, this is a man who won the U.S. Open on a broken leg.
Actual leg.
Right? Like, think about that.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and for people, I got into this debate with Max Kellerman on our show. I'm like, you walking 7,200 yards a day for 4 days after having reconstructive surgery on your leg in climate that is cold and rainy.
Yeah.
Both Shay and I share the same thing, right? Like, it hurts me to walk down the street. So pivoting and being able to push back and thrust, like all that, that's just the physical side.
Yeah.
The mental capacity it takes to battle through that, to be focused on each and every shot. If he's able to pull that off, I agree with you.
I mean, there's few people that are great when hurt. He's one of them. Yeah. I mean, he's battled through a lot of injuries and been great doing it.
And look, the three of you know about overcoming those obstacles better than any, so I can't pretend to sit here in your guys' shoes and talk about that. What I will say is, as a father, I think a part of this is what's driving Tiger as well.
Yeah.
He doesn't want his public story to be that car accident, and that's how we remember this guy in the limelight from then on moving forward. He wants to show everybody he's resilient, he can go out there and achieve something. He's done that today at that first tee.
Yeah, absolutely. As Michael Collins said earlier, the win is him just being out on the 100%. Course, and I think that's a great spot to leave it here.
You gonna watch the Masters and enjoy it?
All day.
I heard Booger say, hey, 361 days out of the year, father, husband, do all of it. These 4 days, Masters time.
We're in for a treat.
Can I get that same luxury?
Absolutely not.
Hey, that was a hell of a setup for it, though.
Nice try,
I thought she faked the funk.
National
Nice
TV.
try, bro.
You couldn't have set it up any better. The play was executed
we're gonna leave it back on what Michael
We got other
Collins
stuff
said.
to do.
Tiger Woods inspiring. We're gonna leave it there. We got a great couple of days ahead of us.
Oh, man.
Every April 15th is a special day in baseball, but this year it's the 75th anniversary of Jackie Robinson shattering the color barrier and setting the stage for momentous change in society. Many of the biggest names in baseball history followed in Robinson's footsteps, but the number of African Americans in the game has dwindled. Today, a current Black star reflects on race, Robinson, and being a game changer in his own right, part of our series Black History Always.
We know what 42 mean. Type of player he was, type of person he was. You know how he shifted the culture. If it wasn't for him, then I wouldn't be putting his big league uniform on. You walk through those doors, I mean, you don't really see a lot of black guys. It's hard because, you know, the people around you can't relate. Yeah, they're relatable with baseball ways, but I needed more so culture relatable. And so that part was tough on me. It took me a while to, you know, get comfortable in my skin. I didn't really have friends in baseball, you know. Most of my friends played basketball or football or did other things. I only chose baseball because I had a million things going on at home outside of, you know, sports. And baseball was just another outlet for me not to go home to, you know, not be able to be around bad things. And that's why I play the way I do. I play with a lot of passion, a lot of energy. It's a cool sport. I mean, only if you make it cool. When you come into a game that's been boring for so long and you do something different, then that's gonna shake up some people.
Tim crushes this ball. He throws the bat, the ball goes flying, it is gone!
My biggest thing was when I did the backflip, people didn't like that. But you gotta understand, I come from a culture where there's a lot of passion, a lot of excitement. People don't really know what I've been through to kind of get to where I am today. So, all that was just balled up into excitement. And, for me to do that, that kind of echoed around, the game of baseball. And now you see where we are today. I mean, that's what we're promoting. We're promoting let the kids play. We're promoting bat flips. And I'm glad that it's helping the game, move and shift. And kind of, making people, look at themselves and kind of open up and be open a little bit more. You got to think about where I play at. I'm on the south side where most of those kids are African American. So, they look up to me, and for me to be in the position that I'm in, I think it's only right that I be relatable to them. Talking about black people in the game of baseball, it's kind of tough, because most black people don't play the game. I'm definitely, thankful just to be able to be open a little bit and let you guys into how I'm feeling and what Jackie Robinson meant to me. Every black kid should be thankful and grateful for everything that he went through, everything that he did. He left a huge mark, and it's still going.
In 2017, the White Sox shortstop started Anderson's League of Leaders, a foundation for at-risk youth dedicated to his best friend who lost his life to gun violence after coming to the aid of someone else. Please join us again tomorrow as we count down to April 15th with another firsthand